I am discovering me. Discovering me. My identity was hidden, taken from me, long before my ancestors began hanging from trees. The serpent, he was the real thief, deceiving my sister Eve. He made me forget I was royalty. My father is a king. I am the daughter of the everlasting, loving, omniscient three. He came to give me life. This world wants to take it away. He never intended for it to be this way. Free will, a blessing and a curse. Say my name. My life matters. God said it first. Discovering me. Redefining my identity. Made fearfully and wonderfully, flaws and all, my destiny was altered when I heard his call. I can't see where I'm going, but I know what I'm leaving behind. My faith is blind, lamps at my feet as I shoulder his load. I feel light, I see life as I walk the Samaritan road. Anxiety. She's an old friend that many know. She comes in and rarely goes. My heart beats quickly. I breathe deep. For now, she's under control. Change is the trigger and disorganization the bullet. She's locked and ready to blow. My mind is a mess, scattered fragments and dizziness. My hands shake, my knees go weak. I fumble my words as I try to speak. My heart beats quickly. I breathe deep. My world slows down, my vision still blurry. So much to do, I still have to hurry. She's here to stay, she has much to say. There's a reason she responds this way. But I look to God and I hear him say, you are worried and upset about so many things, but few things are needed. Or indeed, only one. Hi, everyone. So this is your host of the Discovering Me podcast, Nori. I just wanted to start my first episode off with just kind of introducing myself and maybe giving you guys a little bit of background information about me. So again, my name is Nori. I'm 29 years old. I'll actually be 30 in about 2 or 3 weeks. And right now I am in a very interesting space in my life. But before I jump into that, so like I said, I'm 29, I'll be 30. My husband and I have been married for 5 years and we currently don't have any children. And yeah, as I said, I'm in an interesting space in my life. I am currently out of work on short-term disability. Turns out that anxiety is a lot more serious than I ever thought it would be. So I've kind of struggled with anxiety my whole life. I'm a pretty anxious person. I get stressed out fairly easily, but it usually doesn't stop me in my tracks the way it has this time. So just to kind of give you guys an idea, I am unable to drive my car. So when I get behind the wheel of my car, I immediately almost immediately start feeling dizzy and lightheaded, and I can feel nauseous. I've had multiple tests done over the last couple months, MRIs, CAT scans, blood work, anything you could think about, I've probably had it done, and everything has come back normal. And honestly, with where I am right now, I'm kind of in agreement with the doctors. I do think it's stress. I do go to therapy. My therapist is awesome. I actually do EMDR therapy, which is a trauma-based therapy where trauma, it's funny. It can be pretty much anything. So anything in your life that has caused a permanent change in how you react to things, or a permanent, well, not necessarily permanent, but it just, the way that you deal with things is affected by your trauma. So for example, if every time you asked for something you were yelled at, then you now as an adult are afraid to ask for things, but you don't know why. The trauma was you being yelled at as a child. So it's basically just working through those types of different things. And that was a very small level explanation of trauma. It can go really deep, or it can be something simple as that. Not to say that, that's super simple, but yeah. So where I am right now is I'm currently just home. There's not much I can do. I've been out of work for going on 2 months now. My last day of work was August 20th. And it is now September 29th. So yeah, going on about a month and a half soon. Um, so what has it been like just sitting at home, dealing with anxiety? So I am not good at sitting. I'm not good at just being by myself. I'm not good at just resting. And so that's something that I have made a point to try to learn how to do while I'm out. I don't know when I'm going back. I don't know how long I'm out yet. I'm still waiting on paperwork from doctors. So in the meantime, I've just chosen to figure out what it is that God wants me to learn, figure it out what it is that He's trying to teach me. And I'm actually learning a lot. I'm realizing that life is just super busy. Yeah, to say the least. It's just super busy. I feel like the last year has been really hard for a lot of people, last 2 years. I know for me, I left a toxic work environment towards the end of 2020, and that work environment was terrible. My boss was micromanaging. He would, put people against each other. He would ask your opinion of your coworkers and then kind of use it to bash your coworker. He was just very conniving and very methodical in the way that he treated us as employees. And so I dealt with that for the last 2 years of the 6 years that I worked there. And I just decided that I was over it. Well, I was over it before the 2 years, but honestly, I felt like I couldn't leave. I felt like I was just stuck in this space where I had to deal with it because, well, I didn't graduate from college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Still don't fully understand or know what I want to do, but that's what I'm using this time for, to discover. So yeah, during that time, it was just really hard. I felt trapped. I felt like, like that was just going to be my life forever. The people that I worked with had very negative outlooks on life. A lot of them were older. They had been there for years. They had watched the company change from being one thing to another, and just becoming more about business, 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 and less about you as a person. And then apparently, based on what they shared, I came in, on the tail end of that. So yeah, it was really hard. And then being a Black woman in a predominantly white workplace, that was also difficult because, like I said, the last 2 years has been hard for everyone, but 2020 was special there. It was definitely an experience. It's interesting because I feel like I learned a lot in the sense that I realize that when people are saying prejudice or outright racist things, that sometimes they don't always recognize what they're saying or how it affects those around them. I've noticed that people are just people, you can't really, basically it all boils down to sin. So that's part of my introduction. I forgot. I'm a Christian. So, I try to look at life through the lens that Jesus would look at people. And what I realized is that a lot of people were just hurting. And because they're hurting, they hurt others, or they're afraid, or, they're scared. They just want to protect what they have. They want to protect what they've worked hard for. And unfortunately, they feel as though, cutting down other people or minimizing the benefits that others have advances theirs. And, there's all types of things that we could call that. But honestly, what it boils down to is selfishness. And I feel like that's the way that Jesus would look at it, look at them is, that it's just selfishness. And so that's these are the types of things that I've just been learning about myself for the last couple of years. It's just, I'm realizing that the world is bigger than we make it out to be. I think that social media makes our world big and small at the same time because there's this thought process that, everything has to be known and everything has to be shared and everybody has to be aware of every little, thing. And I get it. I get the desire to put your cause out there. I mean, I'm doing a podcast, right? To put your cause out there and just get your voice heard and get your opinion heard. But what I'm learning is that it's great to get our opinions out there, but are we stopping and listening to the opinions of other people? Are we, just pushing forward with my way is the right way, and if you don't believe it, then your opinion is dumb. And so, yeah, that's just a little bit about how I think and who I am. I'm learning how to deal with the world. I feel like I'm having a coming to moment, or as if the scales are falling from my eyes, if you will. Um, it's been a long time where I've just been able to reflect and to think and to stop. And yeah, I'm just learning a lot about myself. I'm learning how to deal with stress. I'm learning how to slow down. I'm learning that life doesn't have to look the way that it's always looked. That making a living doesn't have to be this arduous, miserable task, that it doesn't have to be, something that you dread going to every day. Not that the job that so I should backtrack a little bit. So after I left the company that I had been working at for 6 years, I started a new job at a nonprofit. And that job was great. I help people I say was because I'm not working there right now. But yeah, that job was great. It was helping people with mental and emotional disabilities to just find permanent job placement, helping them to develop the skills that they needed in order to find permanent job placement. And yeah, so I'm just learning how to deal with life. And that job was great. I mean, I enjoyed helping people. I enjoy working with people. I mean, encouraging people is something that brings me happiness. Like, I just love helping people, which is another reason why I'm enjoying doing this podcast. Like, I just want to be there for people. I want to help people to think, to discover their own, shortcomings and to overcome them. That's literally something that I just really enjoy doing. And so, yeah, so this job was great, but it was understaffed. And so with everything that has already happened, with leaving the last job, it was extremely traumatizing for me at that last job. You can ask my coworkers, how I felt if you know me personally, but, you could ask them, like, during my last couple months there, it was really hard for me to go to work every day. I would wake up, I would cry the entire way to work. I'd go to work, put my headphones in, listen to music, listen to podcasts, whatever, and just put my head down and try to get my work done. Because if you were part of any conversation, something that you said would be twisted and put in another conversation, or there was just drama, a lot of negativity. It was a draining workplace. And so when I left there, I left there on a Tuesday and I started my new job that Wednesday. I never took time to process. And this, again, is all in the midst of 2020 and everything that it was: COVID, racism, social justice issues, just everything, all the things. It was like everything was forced at our doorsteps and all we could do was sit and watch. But I feel like that was good. I think that we needed that awakening. We needed that shake to reality to see the condition of what our world had become. And not to say that I feel as though like bad things should have happened or that people should have been hurt, but I definitely feel like 2020 happening opened a lot of eyes to a lot of different things. I feel like I'm not alone in my own spiritual awakening. I'm not alone in my mental breakdown. I'm not alone in everything that I'm discovering about myself. If you just look at the news, you'll see that burnout is at an all-time high. People are tired. People are stressed. People are overwhelmed. And I feel like 2020 forced us all to stop and to really think about where we are and where we want to be. And so that's where I'm at. I'm stopping and I'm thinking about where I am and where I want to be. So like I said, I left the long-term job and went straight to the next job the next day. And while I was there, a lot of things happened. I bought a house, which was great and it was encouraging, but it was another thing on my list. It was another thing to think about. It was stress, good stress, but still stress. And, then I had actually gotten pregnant unexpectedly and had a miscarriage. And I was at work when that happened and I stayed there and I just worked. And then I went home. I went to the hospital and the next day I went back to work. I didn't feel like I had the space or the time to process. I didn't feel like I had that privilege, if you will. I felt like I have to keep going. I have to keep working. I have to keep fighting. I have to keep trying. I have to. I'm supposed to. So that was in March of 2021. At the end of 2020, I'm thinking, great, this year is going to be better. I never was off during the pandemic, thankfully, and also not so thankfully. Um, Thankfully, because I still had an income, but not so thankfully because it was the most stressful time to be at work. Um, yeah, with health concerns, with the amount of work that I had to do. I worked for a shipping company, so there was just a lot I had to do. And my hours while I was there would change constantly, like every 6 months. So yeah, it was just a lot. So yeah, so I started this job. I started working, and they're short staffed. So, I had to fill in where I could and, work. I didn't work a lot of extra hours. That was a boundary that I had set, that I said, I'm not going to work over my time because I knew that I needed to separate myself from work. That's just a boundary that I have as a Christian. Like, I want to make time for my family, and I want to make time for my church and for God. And I never want work to take over any of that. So yeah, so I just kept pushing myself and pushing myself. And after the miscarriage, I had a few breakdowns. I'd come home, I'd burst into tears, I'd be upset, I'd be angry, I'd be sad. And it was hard. It was extremely hard. And I kept telling myself, I just want to make it to the 1 year mark. I got myself back in therapy. My 1 year mark would have been October 7th. I was like, I can push. If I can make it to the 1 year mark, I can take some time off, talk to my therapist, maybe get like a month or two off of work just to kind of stop, regroup, and process everything. But that didn't happen. Instead, in August, I woke up one day and I had vertigo. And it was a Monday. I had run around a lot over the weekend, which was my norm. I had done all the things, tried to complete all the tasks on my to-do list. And when I say my to-do list, it never ends. It just keeps going and going and going because I'm crazy. But yeah, so I had done all the things, and I woke up that morning and I was getting ready for work, and I didn't feel well. I stood up. I felt like the world was spinning. I was like, what is going on? I thought maybe I just got like a cold or flu or something. Maybe I just need to rest a couple days. So I called out of work for the next 3 days, but it didn't get better. So I just was like, all right, I need to figure this out. I was feeling terrible at this point. I was nauseous. I was dizzy. I didn't feel well. And I was just like, what is going on? So I went to the hospital. My husband had to bring me, and the whole car ride there, I just felt like the car was doing somersaults through the streets. Like, I felt like we were spinning around. I don't know if you guys have ever been on that space ride at the carnival where everybody stands with their back against the wall, and then the room starts to spin, and then your feet come up off the floor, and the board moves, and you're just spinning really fast in a circle. That's how I felt in the car on the way to the hospital. So I get to the hospital, they do an MRI, they check my blood work, and everything is coming back normal. So they don't really know what's wrong with me. They advise me to see an ear, nose, and throat doctor and to get tested and see what they have to say. So they send me home with some medications to help with the dizziness and the nausea. And of course, the next 2 days, I popped those meds and I went to work. I pushed myself. I was slightly dizzy, but I could operate a vehicle. I could walk. I could do what I needed to do. It didn't affect me that much. So I'm like, all right, let's keep pushing through. Let's keep going. And I get to work and I get through those 2 days, and then the weekend comes and I do all the things over the weekend. And then, on the next week, I literally went to work every day that week. I pushed myself. I didn't feel well, but I wasn't feeling terrible. I was like, I can do it. I can keep going. So I just pushed myself for the entire week. That Saturday, I was worthless. I woke up. My head was pounding as if there was a little man in my head trying to chisel themselves out through my skull. My eyes hurt. Any sunlight, light from the lamp or whatever, it was killing me. I felt extremely nauseous. I could barely get up to walk myself to the bathroom. That's how terrible I was feeling. My husband had actually left that morning because he was going to play basketball with some of the guys. And so I'm in my house and I'm like, I can't function. I can't move. I can't make food. I can't do anything. I barely, like I said, was able to get out of my bed to get to the bathroom. And then I just laid on the bathroom floor afterwards because that's how awful I felt. Thankfully, I had my cell phone, so I texted my husband, like, look, I need you to come home. I really don't feel well. This is what I need. And so he came home shortly after and, took care of me, made me something to eat. I got back in the bed. And yeah, that whole weekend, I just felt awful. And so I prayed. I was like, God, if something's wrong with me, if I need to take this time off of work, if I really just need to take care of myself, I pray that you'll make that clear on Monday. I pray that I'll wake up and I'll just know that you need me to stay home. So that was August, 22nd, I believe I prayed that prayer. And then I woke up that Monday and I felt terrible. I was dizzy. I was nauseous. Again, I could barely walk. I was like, okay, this is a clear sign. Like, I need to stay home. I really need to take care of myself. Something is wrong. So yeah, so thus began, multiple doctor's appointments and multiple tests and multiple scans and just, all these different things to try to figure out what was wrong with me. Then finally, September 15th, I went and saw a neurologist. At this point, I'd also been talking to my therapist and she was like, I think it's stress. She had this book. I can't remember the name of it, but she had this book and she was like, yeah, when you're stressed, like, it says that it can cause vertigo and this and that. And I'm like, no, but this is crazy. Like, it can't be stress. Like, this is too much. Like, there's a lot happening. So the first 2 weeks that I was home, like I said, I'm not good at resting. The first 2 weeks, I'm waiting for my appointments. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, now I got to figure this out. I got to figure out how I'm going to make money. I got to figure out how I'm going to take care of our household. I'm going to figure out all these things. We have to keep going. Like, we have to figure this out. And so I'd get up and I'd be like, okay, well, let me just clean the house. At least the house will be clean. So I'm running around the house trying to clean the house and I feel terrible. I get extremely dizzy. I feel extremely nauseous. So I go and I sit down. So I did that for about a week. So then the second week I said, okay, clearly I can't move around too much because my body can't take it. And I'm thinking like I must have like some kind of brain tumor that's like draining my body of energy or something must be going on that's completely tragic because this doesn't make any sense. So then the second week, I decide, all right, well, let me try to see what I can do from home. Like maybe I just need, or maybe I can work from home. Maybe, my job will allow me to work from home. I'll get paperwork from the doctor. I can do a lot of things from my house. Maybe that'll work. So God didn't allow that to happen. I got the note from my doctor, but it didn't have a specific time frame. And then they needed a specific time frame. I couldn't get one. And so it just didn't work out. And I was like, all right, clearly God wants me to sit down. Clearly he doesn't want me to run around the way that I'm used to running around. It's just not meant to be. And I need to learn how to rest. And I need to be okay with it. And I need to be okay with just sitting still. And that was hard. So of course I spent the first couple days just binging TV shows and reality shows because, well, I have nothing else to do and I need to be occupied. And my husband is still going to work, so I'm home alone most of the time. And I haven't really told a lot of people at this point about what's going on with me because I don't know what's going on with me and I didn't want a million questions. So I'm just sitting there and I'm just trying to figure it out. So long story short, well, not really long story short because I already gave you the long version, but jumping to the end, as I said, they turned out it was anxiety. And when I first got that diagnosis, I was very upset because that was the diagnosis that I had dreaded. My therapist had told me it might be stress. A friend of mine told me it might be stress. A friend of mine that's in residency who asked me all of my symptoms, she even thought it might be stress, but I was like, that is a stupid diagnosis because what am I supposed to do? Life is stressful. Like I cannot be out of work and that doesn't make sense. Like how am I supposed to just sit at home because of stress? That is unrealistic and life is just stressful and my body just needs to get it together. So when the doctor gave me the diagnosis, I literally cried in his office. Then I cried to my husband afterwards, and I cried the entire way home. And I told my mom, and I also felt shame. I felt like my life's not that hard. Like, I'm 29, I have a pretty decent life. I have an amazing husband. My things are taken care of. Like, why is stress my thing? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, that doesn't fit. So, yeah, that was difficult. So I talked to my therapist about that, and even feeling shame about that. And then realizing too that, the close people that I did tell, the people that were my friends, they didn't say like, oh my gosh, you're home because of stressed. When I told them that I was stressed, they were like, well, yeah, stress kills. Like, you need to take care of yourself. And I'm like trying to give them the out, right? I'm like, yeah, but that's dumb. Like, life is stressful. Like, usually stress is like, oh yeah, you have a heart attack, not like, like I want a heart attack, but you have a heart attack or you have high blood pressure. It's not like vertigo and dizziness. And at this point, I had even developed tremors where my arm and my legs would just shake uncontrollably. Like, I couldn't stop them. And so, yeah, it was hard, and I didn't realize the toll that the lifestyle that I was living of go, go, go all the time took such a toll on my body. Like, I didn't realize that I was pushing myself so hard. In my mind, I'm just like, I have goals I need to achieve. I have things I need to do. Like, I have debts I need to pay. I have student loans. Like, I have to work. I have to make money. I have to. So yeah, so now I'm in a new space. I am relearning who I am. I'm relearning the lifestyle that I want. I'm uncovering a lot of different things in my life. I'm uncovering a lot of different thoughts I have about myself, about other people. I'm realizing new things about myself. And so I thought that I would start this podcast as a way to just kind of share my life and share my journey. I, told you a little bit about the things that I've been through already, but looking back on my life over the last month and a half, like, I have been through a lot, and I've never stopped long enough to really process my emotions. And so that's part of what I want to use this podcast to do, is to really just process what I'm feeling and what I've felt in the past, and just the different ways that I view myself. And I'd love to have other people on. If you're interested after hearing and you want to come on and share something that you're discovering about yourself, please do. I just really want to show people that there's another way you can live life. Like, life doesn't have to be a roller coaster. It doesn't have to be quick moving, fast paced, get 20 things done in an hour. It can be relaxing. It can be, fun and enjoyable, and still, productive. So that's what I wanted to share. That's my introduction of who I am and why I decided to start this podcast. I hope, again, that my story can encourage somebody or change the trajectory of somebody's life. I feel like God put us here to help each other to know Him, but also to share our lives with each other so that we can learn from each other and grow. So I hope that you enjoy listening, and that this podcast really does inspire and encourage you.